Hello, everybody. Good afternoon. I'm Bob Scott. I'm with Nims and Associates, and we are here to chat about Acumatica and some new features in the Acumatica 2021 R2 release. But I think mostly it's going to be an overview of Acumatica and some new things that they're doing. I want to welcome you all. And some of you I know, and some of you I don't know. But for the folks I know, nice seeing you again. And for the folks I don't know, nice to meet you. Acumatica and Nims and Associates. So Nims and Associates has been around for 30 years. We've been supporting ERP systems for the entirety of that time. And we've mostly in the past focused, I think the first 20 years, we focused on Sage products. And in the past, I'd say 8 years, we've been doing Sage and Acumatica, and we just love Acumatica. And that sort of brings us to here we are. So our agenda for today is going to be an overview of the ecosystem of Acumatica. And what they mean by ecosystem is going to be, how does it get deployed? What are the offerings of Acumatica, that sort of thing. Then we're going to do a high-level review of Acumatica. And then I'm going to pop right into 2021 R2 and give us the latest, greatest features of Acumatica. Some of them we're pretty excited about. If we've got any questions, put them into the chat initially. And we'll see that we'll be able to see those, and I'll be able to direct them at a good point where it's a nice segue to answer the questions. Questions are welcome and encouraged. Just want to make sure that we don't talk over each other. So if you could just put those into the chat, that would be great. Acumatica is a cloud-based system, as you'll see in a subsequent slide. Although it's a cloud-based system, it can be deployed in a super flexible way. We'll show you what we mean by that. So Acumatica is browser-based, therefore you can run it on any device anywhere. And that includes smart devices like phones and tablets. Acumatica also has an app. The app is for iOS and Android devices and can allow most functions in Acumatica to be pushed down to a smart device. Now, on an iPad, I would probably just bring it up in a browser. On a phone, I would probably be using the app. But on the phone, it's super convenient for doing things like approvals, things where it's not like intensive to enter data. Inclusive licensing, so for Acumatica. Acumatica, by default, lets you have as many users as you want. Now, the reason they do that is because they assume that, if you're using purchasing or using employee expense tracking, that sort of thing, you're going to need to have everybody in the organization in there. So they don't price the software by user, and they don't have different types of users and that sort of thing. They just say, well, if you get the software, we sort of assume that everybody in your company is going to get in there. Super good for purchasing and requisitions, super good for expense management. They make it even easy for vendors and customers with correct security privileges to get in there. So while it's flexible in licensing, it's even probably more flexible in how it gets deployed. So Acumatica is super unique in this way. So it can be a public cloud. That means that Acumatica is hosting. It means that Acumatica is responsible for backups, upgrades, system maintenance, high-level security, that sort of thing. And once Acumatica hosts it for you, a lot of the support issues kind of fall onto Acumatica. It can be hosted by us or it can be hosted by you in a private cloud. And so what they're talking about in the private cloud is really on an AWS, an Amazon server platform. How it gets deployed is super flexible. So the things that Acumatica that are proud of, I guess, and the things that make Acumatica exciting to us is seamless personalization. So we talk about that is the concepts of dashboards, the concept of user inquiries. They call them generic inquiries. All of these personalizations that users have their own menus and their favorites, and is one of the reasons that we love Acumatica. It just makes the individual user's experience that much better. We also find that the functionality of Acumatica is far and away better than most other ERP systems in the sense that Acumatica does a lot of stuff. It does core financials, receivables, payables, GL, bank rec, but it does distribution, inventory, purchasing, sales orders. It does construction accounting. It does service management, managing and controlling techs out in the field. Doing service orders and things like that. It has a CRM system. So kind of taken as a whole, as an ecosystem, Acumatica has the most to offer of any mid-level ERP system. So general features that are available for every installation of Acumatica. Every installation, no matter what they call edition of Acumatica you get, comes with dashboards and business intelligence. Every installation that Acumatica has comes with approvals and workflows. So by approvals, we're talking about, let's say, purchase order approvals or purchase requisition approvals, where somebody's manager is approving a requisition before it becomes a purchase order based on, dollar value or, lots of different criteria. Full mobility, any device, anywhere. In other words, every installation of Acumatica comes with the app. Download it from the Google or iOS store. Full integration, completely tight integration with Excel. Most screens, or lots of screens in Acumatica, have single button importing and exporting capabilities. There are other importing tools that can be deployed for importing more complicated scenarios of Excel data. Document management. Every implementation comes with document management. Now, by document management, we mean that PDFs, Word files, Excel files, even videos can be attached throughout the program to various documents and records. So, for example, for an AP invoice, you could attach the vendor's original, PDF invoice to you. For a production in the manufacturing system, I forgot to mention Acumatica has a manufacturing system, but in the manufacturing system, if you wanted to attach a video for how an item gets produced, you could do that as well. So lots of different places to attach it, and they call that document management. You can also search for documents and check them in and check them out and record sort of document history that way. And then comprehensive user security. Now, what I mean by comprehensive user security is that most ERP systems have a level of security where you can prevent a user from getting into a particular screen. However, Acumatica takes it kind of a step further, where you can absolutely prevent somebody from seeing certain data. So for the classic example that I always use is, well, I'm a salesperson. My company is allowing me to log into Acumatica, but my company only wants me to see my customers. And so they call that row level, ROW level security. Row level security means that me as that salesperson am only going to be able to see my customers. Now, when I set up that type of security, Acumatica respects that throughout the program. So any report, any inquiry, any lookup, I'm prevented from seeing any other customers except for the ones that I'm allowed to. Now that can be happening for vendors, customers, inventory items. Just about any data in the system can be applied to this row level security concept. Dashboards. So this is just an image of a dashboard. We'll see one working in a minute. But there's a lot of new enhancements to dashboards, and Acumatica has been very strong in dashboards anyway. But dashboards now allow for multiple data sources. So for example, what that means is if I'm using a business intelligence tool like BI 360, I can pull data from other sources and display those on an Acumatica dashboard. Mobile display dashboards can be shown on your phone. They can certainly be shown on your iPad when you're launching Acumatica from a browser. But even if you're using the app, the mobile display on a dashboard can be shown on your phone. Pivot tables can now be added to dashboards. These are not pivot tables in Excel. Acumatica has its own native version of a pivot table run from generic inquiries. Those pivot tables can be exposed to dashboards and can be a super powerful tool for that. They've become easy to use because now you can copy and paste widgets. Each individual element of a dashboard is called a widget, and just the ability to cut, paste, copy, and create new types of widgets are there. The new types of widgets are called scorecards and meters. Kind of in the middle on the left side over here are the meters, and scorecards are these things that show you just kind of a card of a summary of data that allows you to click through, and I call it clicking through instead of clicking into because it exposes all the data behind it. But document management in Excel allows you to attach PDF, Excel, Word documents kind of throughout Acumatica. But the cool thing is two other things I haven't mentioned about document management yet. One is there's a feature in Acumatica that searches for documents across all data in all companies within Acumatica. So let's say I've got an implementation of Acumatica where I'm running 5 or 6 companies under one tenant in Acumatica, and I'm looking for a document. Acumatica's search capabilities can search every vendor, every customer, every transaction across all of my companies to find that document. Pretty cool. Attachments can be uploaded from the Acumatica mobile app. So the mobile app allows you to take photos, and those photos can be attached to records in Acumatica. So imagine you're a service tech and you are out working on a boiler, and you need to take a photo of that boiler and attach it to the document you're working on in Acumatica. You can take a photo of that and upload it to the document in Acumatica, and that becomes an attachment. It's actually very cool. So very good interaction, document management wise, between the mobile app and Acumatica proper. New feature in 2021 is AP document recognition. And we're particularly excited about this one. What this means is that we can set up an email account, let's say ap@acumatica.com sort of thing, where our vendors send their invoices attached to emails. Now, those emails typically are going to have PDF attachments. Now, Acumatica now has the capability of monitoring that AP email address for emails that have attachments. And when it finds that attachment, it can bring it into Acumatica automatically. And then through machine learning and OCR recognition, the system can translate that PDF into an actual invoice that Acumatica, as if a user had typed it in. The user, whoever's monitoring that AP inbox, has the ability to change and edit it and review it before they send it off to accounts payable. But it's just a remarkable feature that Acumatica can automate AP documents to that level. Look at the inbound invoice, recognize there's a PDF on it, pull the PDF into the system, perform recognition of that, then leave it in a place or a state that somebody with that's not a machine can review it and finalize. So it's actually quite remarkable, and it's a relatively new feature in 2021. So we talked about Acumatica mobility. So iOS, Android, we mentioned that already, but some of the functions that you can do in the mobile app. So service management. So the service system in Acumatica is for sending technicians out into the field. It is especially well suited for that. So a service person can call up their appointment out in the field, type in how much time they spent, what material they've used, but they can take photos of damage. They can take photos of the work they've done. Can be attached to the service management appointment, and ultimately can be a historical reference for equipment maintenance. Approvals. The phone and mobility is super good for approvals. Approvals in Acumatica could be for lots of different things, and me as a manager could be getting several different types of approvals kind of landing in my inbox. With the app, I can approve them from anywhere, but I can also look at the transaction. I don't just blindly approve. I can look at the transaction and then go, okay, yes, approve. Types of approvals that typically would hit a person like my inbox would be purchase order approvals. It might be employee time approvals, and employee expense approvals would be coming in for me to click on and approve. Timesheet expense reports, talked about that, and certainly slim down dashboards are excellent for to show on the mobile app. Acumatica comes in suites, and the first suite of related functionality is called Acumatica Financials. Acumatica Financials is kind of the backbone, the core of the system. Every Acumatica installation has Acumatica Financials. So in other words, you can't buy manufacturing without having financials. Comes with general ledger with multi-company, multi-branch accounting, payables, receivables, cash management with banking integration. Banking integration now optionally includes real-time bank integration, where as transactions hit your bank, they can be pushed into Acumatica automatically in real time. Multi-currency accounting, sales and use tax accounting, and a super slick intercompany capability that's been greatly enhanced in 2021 R1 and R2. You didn't know this in the past about Acumatica. Acumatica releases 2 major releases per year. Typically, one's called R1, one's called R2. So we're on 2021. R2 is just about to be released, and 2021 R1 was released in the spring. So it's typically a spring fall sort of dynamic on the release of new versions. Acumatica CRM. Great CRM capabilities within Acumatica. Now, one of the things that make it so great and so powerful is that it's actually in Acumatica. You're not doing CRM outside of Acumatica and then some kind of integration. Although it does integrate, there is an integration capability with Salesforce. But because if you're using the CRM natively to Acumatica, it works seamlessly with sales orders, with customers, with projects. The Acumatica CRM, optionally, you can get a portal for customers to perform self-service. So customers can place their own orders. Customers can make payments on account. Customers can print statements. They can print old orders and old invoices as they see fit themselves. So it gives you a kind of a self-service aspect to it. They can enter their own quotes and turn the quotes into orders and invoices through CRM. And there's a CRM, this is one of my favorite things about CRM. There's a CRM add-in link for Microsoft Outlook. And what that means is that a user who's got the link installed can highlight a inbound email in their Outlook. And when they highlight that email, they can click on a button that appears at the top of their screen in Outlook. And that says, basically check Acumatica. And what the system does between Microsoft Outlook and Acumatica, it's looking for anywhere in Acumatica where that same email address appears. And then it's going to ask you if you want to attach that inbound email inside Acumatica. Because we know Acumatica does a great job on the outbound emails. So this is, bringing in selected inbound emails and attaching them in appropriate spots, like an opportunity or on a lead or on a sales order, on a purchase order. So super feature. So CRM then allows you to track cases, leads, opportunities, and marketing campaigns. And it also has the feature of tracking support cases and creating support cases. So to the extent that you do technical support or want to track customer complaints or customer kudos, you could create support cases for tracking those within the CRM system. Acumatica has a distribution edition. Inventory, sales orders, purchase requisitions. Relatively new to the product family, advanced warehouse management. So when I say advanced warehouse management, think scanners, running around packing and pulling product, but controlling the process through remote wireless scanners. And then the distribution edition, of course, has super tight integration with CRM. Acumatica Manufacturing, a relatively new addition to the manufacturing, to the Acumatica family, I mean. Multiple levels of bill of materials. Manufacturing routings are built into uniquely built into the bills. It's a good concept. It means you don't have to have bills and routings separated and then come together at some point. They're just together. The production order system allows you to capture employee time, track and backflush material usage. Production orders can be integrated with sales orders. In other words, if you're a make-to-order company, and you don't want to do production until the customer's order is placed, you can spawn and create a production order from a sales order. Comes with an MRP replenishment system so that you can generate MRP and the system will time phase supply and demand and tell you when you've got to buy stuff in order to meet demand. And it's got enhanced production scheduling as well. Relatively new to Acumatica in the last year or so. Acumatica now has what they call the e-commerce edition. And the e-commerce edition basically is two integrations, one with Shopify and one with BigCommerce. And in both cases, they can link to multiple Shopify stores or BigCommerce stores. There's no limit to the number of stores on each. But what it does is it automates and structuralizes the integration between the ERP system and the shopping cart system. So with the emphasis that the shopping cart system is going to be managed mostly through Acumatica. So imagine, when a new inventory item gets added within Acumatica, you signify whether it should go up on the shopping cart or not. You signify when it goes up on the shopping cart, what images are going to be associated with that, what text and what tags are going to be associated with that. And, it syncs with Shopify. Typically, other information is real time. So when orders come in, they can be sent to Acumatica in real time. We can also do payment synchronization. This has always been a little bit of a bugaboo with e-commerce systems, because most e-commerce systems have their own credit card processing. We can actually take an order in from the e-commerce site and process the payment via credit card in Acumatica. So kind of, or we can have the website process it. It doesn't matter to us, but at least there's an option for that. And then we can process and synchronize inventory items, customers, and non-stock items. So all in all, pretty exciting offerings there around e-commerce. Within the last year, 2 years actually, Acumatica has added a construction edition. What they've done essentially on the construction edition is they've taken their project accounting and they've morphed it into construction, but they've added a heck of a lot of features well beyond their project accounting system. So including RFIs, submittals, photo and drawing logs, the super good creation and tracking of change orders, super good tracking of billings and retainage on both AP and AR, and a very good subcontractor tracking system. Nims and Associates actually has done a fair amount of custom programming on Acumatica's construction edition, and can show you some pretty cool things around communicating with subcontractors for things, compliance things, mostly around insurance requirements and things like that. So pat myself on the back. Acumatica Field Service and Equipment Edition. So what they mean by field service is the ability to set up a type of employee in Acumatica that is a field service employee. And what that means is that a field service employee is eligible to be assigned to work on a work order. They can also be assigned to work on an appointment. And those schedulings will show up on that person's schedule. So a manager who's managing a team of people would be able to call up their schedule, their dashboard, their calendar, and see at a glance, who's doing what work out in the field. Those people get dispatched. When they're dispatched, they go out into the field. Typically, they're going to have a handheld device, a phone or similar, and they're going to record what they did on site. So the time they spent, notes on the process, their photos like we discussed before. But here's a pretty good kicker. They can actually take customer payments out in the field. So Acumatica's field and service system allows for a technician to take payments. The payments will flow right into Acumatica and allow for the invoice to be sent from the technician's mobile device to the customer. And so you've recorded the entire service to cash cycle. So pretty exciting stuff around field service. So the latest in user enhancements, usability stuff in Acumatica. There's a new interface with a new toolbar functionality. And what they've done there is they've kind of modernized the toolbar a little bit and they've moved some of the things that used to require a couple of clicks to get to, and they've made it so that it's a little more functional. Allows you to control what shows up on the toolbar, you customize the toolbar and things like that. There are some new dashboard features, in particular, what data sources we can connect to. Those are the most important ones, but there's a lot of usability features, including the ability to cut and paste widgets. One of the ones that we're particularly excited about is generic inquiries with side panels and screens with side panels. So side panels, so let's start. A generic inquiry is a type of inquiry that users can design within Acumatica. So they can be sophisticated, they can be simple, but it's basically an inquiry screen that users and more technical people can design. What a side panel is when you select a record in your generic inquiry, related data to that data will appear in side panels, allowing you to be exposed to kind of more of a 360 view of something. So for example, let's say I've designed a generic inquiry that allows me to click on a customer. Well, I could have multiple side panels that show me open orders, open invoices, open opportunities, all within simple side panel clicks. Screen captions, it's a simple thing, but it is actually, in my opinion, pretty cool. What it means is that on the caption for screens, it not only is telling you a little bit more information about the screen, but also the record that is exposed to the user. A little easier to work with. Improved inventory functions. They've added quite a bit to the inventory system. So matrix items. Think on matrix items. Well, the best example is clothing, right? So an inventory item can come in small, medium, and large. Acumatica allows you to, they call that a matrix item. They allow you to set that up. And what Acumatica does is it says, okay, I'm going to auto-create the small, medium, and large for you. But when somebody goes to enter a sales order or an item, and this actually extends to Shopify and to the shopping carts as well. When somebody goes to enter a matrix item, it actually exposes the main item and gives them the opportunity to enter a small, medium, or large. And then Acumatica translates that back into those three other items. So that way you can track, how many smalls, how many mediums, how many larges do I have on hand. But while you're processing the order, it's kind of the best of both worlds. And then better dropship functionality. Acumatica, by the way, has a superior dropship functionality around the purchase order to sales order to customer integration. There is a new workflow engine. Now, what the new workflow engine means is that you can design your own workflow around something. So, for example, let's say that a sales order is entered in the system, and the person/company that the sales order is for fails credit check. Previously we would say, okay, well, that's that, right? The sales order, I have to call the customer or something like that. Well, with the new workflow engine, we can tell Acumatica that when it encounters a credit check problem, to automatically spawn a task for somebody to place an order to the customer. Or we could have it automatically send an email to the customer saying, hey, you got a problem with your account and we can't process your sales order. So you can add new functionality, but within the paradigm of your existing workflow. So yeah, we're super excited about working with this new workflow engine. And by the way, it's a kind of a visual thing. It's not no programming needed. And then there's a new security enhancement for role mapping rules and OpenID providers. New features in the financial systems that, the one I was super excited about was the AP document recognition system. Much better intercompany transaction flows now. What we mean by that is Acumatica has always been super strong with intercompany transactions and managing and tracking due to and due froms. What Acumatica now allows is that when you set up a company within Acumatica, they become a customer and a vendor. The company does. And so I can issue an invoice from one company to another company. And when I do that, the system records the receivable for the issuing company, but it also auto creates the AP side of that transaction for the other one. So not only is it doing the due to, due from transactions, but it's tracking that within the receivables and payables system of each company involved in the transaction. So just saying, pretty cool. The improved customer refund process, it's a little awkward before. It's a lot more streamlined now. On bank matching, so Acumatica has always had very strong banking interactions with just about every bank out there. Now, when you're matching transactions from your bank, used to be that one document could only be matched to one other document. That was a problem especially with credit card transactions, right? Because a group of credit card transactions might equal one deposit in your bank. So they've recognized that, they've written to our assistants and they've said, all right, go ahead, match multiple to one. And that is, I guess I'm an accounting nerd when I get excited about something like that. And now you can search by email addresses throughout the system as well. So that's a good feature. New features in distribution, and one that we're super excited about. And this might apply more to manufacturing, but I put it in the distribution section. So capable to promise is an old term, and that term means that me as a customer, I'm calling up somebody to order a product at your business. And the person says to the person on the other phone, on the other line, when can I get this? And because that person, it's complicated, right? I got to build it. There's constraints out there. When am I getting my material in? I have no idea. Basically you're going to hang up the phone and say, I got to call you back, dude. Well, capable to promise in this system uses manufacturing constraints to figure out when you can promise somebody. So it has to be an item that you're manufacturing. And what it's going to do is it's going to look at all the supply and the demand for the item, including lower level requirements. What I mean by lower level requirements are sub-assemblies and components. When those are coming in, but also constraints about how much capacity I've got at production sites within my factory. Mixes all those up, kind of comes to a date where it says, hey, you can promise this quantity on this date, and that's what you're able, God willing, to tell the customer is a capable to promise date. Item substitution and upsell, the new feature, pretty good. So in the inventory items, you can now tell it that when a customer is going to buy this item, that in addition to that, this customer may want to consider this product, they may want to consider that product, or you may want to cross-sell them between products. And there's really two scenarios where that comes into play. One is I'm out of item A, but a perfectly good substitution would be item B. Or the other scenario is, hey, I just sold you item A, but I think that when you buy item A, you might be interested in buying item B, C, and D. So one is considered a substitution, the other one is kind of an upsell or a cross-sell. brand new feature in distribution. Cross-company sales. So in lots of deployments of Acumatica are for multiple companies. When our customer has lots of, well, not lots, but a few different companies. And sometimes they have different companies because they're selling different types of products or different product lines. And also sometimes those companies sell to each other. And now there's a concept in Acumatica of cross-company sales. And a cross-company sale, much like we've talked on the due to and due from, and the ability to put it in a invoice and a payable that the system tracks, but it will also move inventory from one company to the other company. So kind of an inventory transfer at the same time. So if one company is borrowing inventory to sell, it's a great feature. Big improvements in the purchase order system as far as the concept of purchase clearing and purchase clearing as of date. One of those features that most ERP systems don't do very well. I think Acumatica does a pretty good job of that. And then new features in the warehouse management system for paperless pick, pack, and shipping. And there we go. So the first place I better log in. The first place I'd like to start with when showing you the product is the dashboards. Stanley asked, since it's a good segue, what are the space limits of attaching documents? The space limits on individual documents are set up by you, and you can limit how big you want those. I'll tell you that Acumatica may require, it may require you to get more space if you're going to be doing lots and lots of big attachments. I've never had a customer have space issues when they're just attaching PDFs. Once they get into large Excel files and videos, then we better start looking at either limiting what can be attached, the size, which is done right within Acumatica, or maybe purchasing additional space from Acumatica. So the dashboards that I've got set up here in Acumatica, you can see that I've got quite a few of these. And to be honest with you, most of these came with the sample data from Acumatica. If I look at, let's say, the controller one, I'm not sure if, I don't know the mix of people on this call, but could be that there's controller types and production types and all different types, but let's kind of go with the controllers. So the first thing is that we see that there's a dashboard. And what the system allows for is it allows for us to highlight and hover over these are widgets. So this is a widget, this is a widget, this is a widget, and this is a widget. What's behind each one of these widgets is a data inquiry. So if I clicked on the 5.36 million in receivables, it actually shows me that list of invoices. Now, the new features in the dashboards are under design. So I can now cut and paste these widgets, and I can copy them and paste them and put them on other dashboards. So it used to be that if I came up with a cool widget, like this AR aging one is pretty cool, and I wanted to put it on another dashboard, I'd have to replicate not all the work, but a certain amount of it. Now I can just copy and paste it. And that is very cool. That is, for somebody who has to maintain dashboards and things like that, it's an extreme time saver. There are also in terms of dashboards, different widget styles now. So you have this concept of a scorecard, which these are, but you can also make those into meters, and that would be like almost like a speedometer on this. So meters are another way to visualize, a nice kind of look. I think I can do that on one of these donuts. Let me see. It's kind of already set. Anyway, but those are kind of the new features for the dashboard. In addition to being able to copy and paste dashboards from other installations. So if I did a dashboard design on my local machine, this, by the way, is running just on my local machine, then I can copy and paste and bring this dashboard to your implementation. So in the system, we've got the ability to search for things. And this is that Google search that searches along companies. And this has been enhanced somewhat. If I look for a, let's say FSE, you can see that it's found a transaction. And I can tell that this transaction isn't even in this company that I'm in. It's in a separate company. So it's found exactly what I need to look at. If I look at invoice, it's going to find any doc or any attachments where the word invoice is. And as you would expect, I'd have a lot of them, right? But it also found any menu items in the system where the word invoice appears as well. So if I wanted to jump to invoices for customers, I could just jump to it. It's also looking for transactions that has the keyword invoice in it. It's also helpfully, pun intended, looking through the help system to see if there's any help related to invoices. So this is a relatively new feature since they've done the sort of the interface change, and that in and of itself is just a huge productivity boost. So may not seem like a big deal, but in my heart of hearts, this is one of my favorite features of Acumatica. Now, Acumatica also has a new feature that they've put in, and this is the this shows the last few records that I've been in. So this is kind of a breadcrumb trail of what I've been in. So I can tell you that the last transaction I did in the system was this one, and then this one. And this is helpful in the sense that, let's say I was in the middle of a journal entry or some other type of transaction. I got interrupted. I had to navigate to someplace else, do a little bit of work, and came back, and I was like, oh my God, where was I? Well, there's your bread. This is exactly where I was left off. So it will navigate me right to that transaction. Now, in here, this is a good sort of segue. The new toolbars, you've always had in Acumatica the ability to put in notes, the ability to sign activities and to do for other employees here. And here's the file attachment, the file management system, document management, otherwise known. But now they've got a couple of new things. This new ellipse here takes the place of all the other toolbar options over here. And you can actually control what you as a user, individual user, and this is what Acumatica means by personalization, allows to have on the toolbar. So if I want the ability to reverse this transaction on the toolbar, I favorite it and it shows up there. If I want to be able to reclassify the journal entry that was spawned from this AP invoice, I'm going to put it right up there. And so this is what they mean by personalizing your own kind of experience. This is also what they mean by the headers. You can see that it shows a little more clearly what is going on in terms of the record that we're looking at. So that is a good thing. So they call that recent records up here. This is called the new toolbar. Side panels. So side panels are relatively new, but extremely popular. I mean, they're we're getting requests to do them all the time, but it's also something that you can do yourself. It's not anything you necessarily need to call us for. I put together just for today an example of a side panel. Very simple generic inquiry. All I'm doing is listing the customer ID, the name, and whether the customer is active. The first thing to note, though, which is also a new feature in Acumatica, is that you can introduce color into this. I've just got I just put a little formula in the generic inquiry that said, well, if the customer is inactive, just show this field in red, please. So the idea of highlighting and coloring records based on attributes of that data has been now introduced. What we mean by side panels is the whole business over here. So I've got 3 side panels, and when I go to a customer and I highlight it, and I want to look at all of their sales orders, I can click there, and from this screen I can open up all their sales orders. All I've done for that is I've linked in this generic inquiry. I've linked this generic inquiry to another generic inquiry that it's exposing all of Alta Ace's sales orders for me. If I wanted to look at ABC Studio, so you can see how powerful this is, just the ability to scroll through and look at it. But I've added others, so invoices. If I want to look at all of Alta Ace's invoices, there they are, open and closed. But I can sort and do what I need to in here. And then if I wanted to look at sales opportunities, I could do that as well. So these 3, it was just me when I was getting ready for this webinar going, on the topic of side panels, what would I like to see? But I'm sure that, with the people on this call, we could think of 1,000 different scenarios where, maybe not 1,000, but a lot of different scenarios that side panels would be good to expose. Now, on the other side of side panels is that you can now do side panels on even screens in Acumatica. So you can see that this screen here is your very traditional AP bill entry screen. I've just added a little side panel here so that when I'm in the middle of an AP bill, I can see any open purchase orders for this vendor. That was one thing that Acumatica did not, when in their wisdom, they did not add the ability from the vendor to have a quick inquiry into the purchase orders. Well, I just added that. So I'm on this vendor. If I click over here, any open POs for that vendor are just going to show up. I can actually open the from here as well. So this is an example of using a side panel on an actual screen, not on an inquiry. Either way, you're redirecting and putting data at the person's fingertips when they need it. It's a very powerful feature. As far as intercompany stuff goes, the way that they are now doing it, note that I'm in the products wholesale company. And I've got a products retail related company, that needs some stuff. And that is going to become a do to, do from. It's, they're buying some stuff from us. Now, that each company in Acumatica can become a vendor and a customer. So this is a customer, if we look at the drop down here, that's Products Retail is a company in our system. They also happen to be a customer. So when I do that, I can sell them products. In this case, I'm just going to sell them, some services. $34,000 worth. And I'm going to release this. Releasing, if you haven't noticed, in Acumatica calls posting releasing. Releasing is how you finalize a transaction. So that transaction has been released. So the receivable side of that intercompany transaction has been booked. Now, what Acumatica wants to do is say, okay, let's generate the AP document. Now, what that's going to do is it's going to create a payable document for the other side, for the AP, for the retail company. So this is all relatively new stuff in Acumatica that really super enhances that whole intercompany play. Oops, forgot to give it a stub of gum. Well, then with that, what we'll do is we'll say, I hope you enjoyed your lunch. I hope you ordered your lunch when you got the confirmation. And thank you for attending.